Hey, Katie. Oh my God. Are we really doing this?
We are. Welcome to Higher Downloads, where two moms, entrepreneurs, and spiritual seekers are getting real about doing our best to live life in alignment.
Yeah, and by getting real, we mean the raw, unfiltered voice memo version of ourselves.
And you know what we're really obsessed with lately: higher
hmm
downloads.
You know that moment when clarity arrives seemingly from nowhere? That's it. That's the higher download from your highest self.
Exactly, because we know everyone has the ability to access their own higher downloads. So nothing is off limits here. Everything in the wheel of life, from career, spirituality, motherhood, relationships.
Yep, everything. And really through the lens of higher consciousness and joy. And we have to share our higher downloads too, right? So grab your coffee
Or your crystals, or whatever you need to have fun with us.
and get ready to tune in to your own wisdom channel because receiving higher downloads means you can live your life in HD.
Higher Downloads starts now. Welcome back to Higher Downloads.
We're so glad you're back.
And I'm so glad we're doing this again.
I just love being able to log in, know that we're going to chat about something that is meaningful for people who are listening,
It's so
and it's fun.
it was so fun. That's what I was about to say. It's so fun. And I love it. Today we don't have a hard agenda planned out, do we?
No,
Love it.
but it is the beginning of the year, and we were talking about how it's just such embedded in American culture that everybody's like trying to lose weight or working on their wellness. So we mentioned that could be a, a topic. You
Or
want to go
dry
there?
January, or all the things. There's so many things. I feel like wellness is exploding, which is amazing. I love that. But there's a lot to layer. So yeah, we're getting into it. And I think it's so fun because literally yesterday, without realizing it, we were both kind of having a wellness Monday. Like we were
Mm,
messaging back and forth, and I'm like, I'm going into my massage. You're like, I'm going into my yoga, my 2 hour yoga class. And
I
then
do.
there was other things too. So I love that for us. Yay us.
Okay, yes, lié us. I call it Me Monday. But and you can do that when you're an entrepreneur. Yay. But that's not like because it's the beginning of the year. Like
Oh,
we
totally.
have been intentional about building this into our lives. So
Absolutely.
that's an important note.
Absolutely. It's all a practice. But I do think, I'm even sitting here like kind of sore because of all my different things yesterday.
Mhm.
I think it's very timely. It is New Year, and I do get the like rejuvenation energy of like, oh yeah, recommit to what I'm trying to accomplish and lean in after kind of taking the foot off the brake the last couple, like during that, the winter solstice when it's dark and when I kind of want to stay home and it's a little cold. So I'm feeling that like kind of aliveness energy coming back. So it is timely. Yeah. So yesterday after my massage, which was lovely, I have physical therapy where we do a really intense dry needling. And I'm still sore
Whew.
from that. So if you see me, shaking and doing my neck and whatever, like I was rubbing on my creams this morning because it's intense and it felt so good.
Okay, help me out. I've done acupuncture, but I'm not sure that I've done dry needling. What's the difference?
My understanding is the difference is the needle size and the intent. And so acupuncture is like putting the needles into the points in your,
Mm,
field, whatever they're called, and leaving them there, and then you rest, right? Dry needling is active. They're literally like putting it deeper into your muscle and like trying to get your muscle to spasm so that it can then relax. So like if it's really tight, the needling helps it trigger and then relax. Very similar to when people do like needling stuff on their face and it makes the collagen and then your body heals itself. It's very much in that principle and
is
it
it like
it
the
works.
idea that you create like a micro tear so that the muscle starts to send the white blood cells and rebuild?
I think yes, and I
Okay.
think yeah.
Okay. Cool. So you're putting on your creams. Arnica, is that one of them?
Arnica gel, love it.
I learned
Yes.
about arnica a few years ago and it makes such a difference. Yeah.
Then what was your main day yesterday? What did you spend time on?
Well, talk about wellness. I had a therapy session and
Nice.
I see that as, if we're talking about wheel of life stuff, I feel like has its own wheel. Don't you think?
I do. Well, health. I think it's all the types of
It's
health.
all, yeah, mental, emotional, physical. Yeah. Yeah, all those spiritual. So, I had a really important and helpful therapy session. And just as a personally, I'm an external processor, but that's not surprising to you. And so it felt good to like move through some harder blocks, and sometimes like it's just a therapy session, and sometimes there's a breakthrough. And yesterday there was a breakthrough, so that felt really good. And then the kind of yoga that I'm into is a specific brand of it called Kayut Yoga, and I'm really fortunate to have found an incredible teacher here in Austin, Renee, and I booked back-to-back sessions. And the reason is, let me tell you, that just speaking of, I just love the way that the universe works. But I was having a really, really hard time about a month or so ago. And I went to one of her sessions, and she was doing a second class back to back. And she came over to me and she said, "Would you like to stay for the second class? I will gift it to you."
Beautiful.
And I stayed, and it was like 2 hours is intense, but it also really resets your nervous system in a beautiful way. And so I got the gift of experiencing what 2 hours could do. So my schedule allowed for 2 hours yesterday, and I did that. And
Wow.
sometimes it's just a yoga class, but sometimes there's breakthroughs. And I had a breakthrough in yoga too.
Wow. Kayut yoga. There's so many types of yoga. What makes this, what's Kayut yoga? How is it different?
Okay, I feel like I'm going to explain it the way you explain dry needling.
Hmm.
So my understanding is that the point of Kayut yoga is to hold simple poses for longer, because the whole point is to break rigidity patterns in your nervous system and to return blood flow to certain areas to increase your mobility. So beautifully aligned with the work that I'm doing out in the world with leaders and breaking patterns and cycles and understanding how to both regulate your nervous system and increase your nervous system's capacity. So it's
Mm.
just beautiful for me to go and continue to embody and like feel it in my body, because I'm teaching these things, and then to go and like yesterday, Katie, my nervous system, we were holding a pose and it was activating the hips, which is where I store a lot of my stuff, negative energy. And we were doing this hip pose, and my entire body started shaking like this. Like, if you're watching on YouTube,
Adrenaline,
you can see,
yeah. Response, yeah.
if you've ever been really cold and you involuntarily shiver,
Hmm.
you're shiver.
Yeah. Well, just like animals do when they're, get, what's the word? When they get activated.
Yeah, and so at first I was like I knew it was my nervous system. I knew it was trying to regulate, and this was a hard pose, but I didn't know. Well, one, I was like, should I tell her? Should I sit with it? Like, all of a sudden it activated my thinking mind, and we're supposed to be in our feeling body. And so I started to become self-conscious, and I had to work through that. Like, do I let my body keep shaking? Do I stop it at some point? So it was a really, really cool experience to realize, like, wow, my nervous system really feels unsafe in breaking this rigidity pattern around my hips. It wants my hips to be locked. But how great that I'm working on it, because I need blood flow to that hip joint and both, like, so that I'm not immobile as I get older.
You know, it's so cool that you're saying that because I literally, when I first started having just so much tension in my neck, my shoulders, trapezius, whatever, I eventually, after going down many roads, figured out that I had trigger points. And that is the exact language of what the trigger point is when the muscle tension fibers are too tight and they're not getting the oxygen brought by the blood flow. So the whole point of acupuncture is energy flow. The whole point of dry needling and some of the wet needling to break up those muscle patterns is because they weren't oxygenated and they couldn't breathe and they weren't functioning correctly. It's literally all the same.
It's the same. And maybe
Wow.
that's it, right? We want the same outcome, but we're taking different paths there, which is such a
Yeah.
good reminder of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and what I've noticed too is that it's kind of like how far it's escalated and like what level of support that you need. If you're more in maintenance mode, maybe something like yoga can help versus if it's already escalated to a point where you need needles in your body, like might be a different thing. So that's wow, Kayut. I love it. I've tried it once many like I feel like it was like 2 years ago and it was so intense. I remember like tell me if this happens to you. Part of your body like falls asleep because you're just sitting there and it's like tingling. Is that
Yeah, we
common?
did, like, you lay down and you put your feet on the wall, And we had our feet on the wall for 30 minutes. And you're like, oh, whatever, that's easy. You're just chilling. No, because all the blood flow, we're changing the pattern of the blood flow in our bodies. So at some point, you're like flexing your feet and like you're flexing them and you're pointing your toes, and you cannot feel your feet.
Yeah.
It's a weird pain, but it's not quite
Mhm.
pain, but it is.
Mhm.
And you have to realize like your mind has to move your feet because you can't feel them. So it's wild. And then at one point, she's like, okay, now it's time to get up and walk. And you're like, how am I gonna walk? I don't even have feet. So yeah, it's
Wow.
just such a beautiful, I love symbolism and I love like seeing parallelisms and fractals in the world. And it's such a beautiful experience in that room of what we experience in so many other parts of life when people become numb to things or whatever.
Mm. Oh, wow. So cool. Making me think about the opposite of that, which is what I've experienced recently in physical therapy. This person has this really expensive machine. I guess it's new, and he said it was like $30,000 or $40,000 or something. And it's basically sending. You know how whenever you go, I don't. Have you ever done physical therapy where they put the needles
Mhm.
in, they hook you up to like the electricity? They do it in like
I've
sports
done the
therapy.
spasm thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's basically that, except instead of having the needles in there, there's a glove that has metal on it, and they literally use the hand. So like they just touch you and it causes that spasm, but it's not in like one little pinpoint in your body. It's everywhere it's touching you. And so it
Oh,
makes
do they massage?
it's like massage. It's more like massage or intentional choosing where to have
Weird.
the electricity or whatever it is go through you.
Hmm.
And it is so intense. Like imagine like he'll do it on my jaw and like he'll do it and my whole face is activated. It's like every muscle it's touching is contracting, but it's like the opposite of like not moving it, right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
making it move all the way to almost unnaturally, but like
The
also that's
pain.
causing the like relaxation. It feels amazing afterwards. It's kind of awkward during it, but that's so cool. There's so many tools out there for healing and all the things.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's it. I've had such a good, it's so cool to hear us talk about this because the whole point is like we're talking about breaking cycles. And actually the Coyote yoga teacher yesterday talked a lot about how our bodies were designed to move in a certain way. So the fact that we sit for 8 hours a day and we sleep laying down for X number of hours a day, and if you're lucky, you move for X number of hours a day. And like we now overcompensate for not having like manual labor. We go and do intense workouts for like an hour. So she was just talking about how our bodies are designed versus what our lifestyles look like today and how we have to break up these rigidity patterns and do that. And it got me thinking because I'm constantly thinking about like breaking generational cycles and leadership cycles. It got me remembering I had this vision yesterday while we were holding a very uncomfortable pose. I got a vision of a lot of elderly people on one side of my family when I was really little, all sitting on a porch in rocking chairs, talking about their pains and how aging is so hard. And I remember thinking, like, well, I guess I'll get to that point where my body's betraying me. Like I just remember thinking, like, oh, one day I'll be in a rocking chair just talking about how hard and painful things are. And now I'm like, that's not going to be me.
It is such a dance, isn't it? Because so many things do evolve as we age, and some things are what quote unquote or feel out of control, right? What's the guy who spent like millions of dollars basically to not age or like reverse age?
Yeah, he keeps saying, like, to not die. And I'm like, well, I think that's the only thing that is guaranteed in this life.
I know, I know. And he just has lots of money. So, like, that's not attainable. And obviously, doing wellness and spending money and time on all these things is obviously from a privileged place. And, like,
Absolutely.
it takes time and it takes money in this world that we live in. So, but I do think it is interesting. And I feel like part of my journey is coming to terms with what is happening to me versus being just from sheer age and from natural body processes and age versus what have I done to myself by holding tension and not speaking my truth and sitting behind my computer and the lifestyle choices that I'm making. It's a dance, especially I'm getting older. I am 36 and a half. Uh, and I'm starting to feel the hormone stuff. And I didn't know that that was what it was a year and a half ago when I started feeling symptoms. And now that I've gotten direction and followed their little breadcrumb trail down the path so long, I've come to see that like there is a component of it that is natural female hormonal shifts. That is something new for me that I'm having to come to terms with because I've
Yeah.
always felt in control of it's up to me to, I can just go exercise and I'll be everything else is normal and fine, right? So it's been a dance trying to navigate this new way of thinking about the body.
Yeah. Well, I guess what my elders were correct about is that aging happens.
Hmm.
And that's true. I think it's just like, I guess I was listening, like adding to their suffering was like the thing I was thinking
100%.
about. But you brought that up. Like, so what is mine to own where I can break up these patterns and be thoughtful? And then what is just a natural part of aging that I need to work with and do it with more compassion and grace and help my body? And that's a big thing in women's health right now. Perimenopause and menopause being things that now there are actual documentaries and a lot coming out. And all of a sudden, women are like, wait, all the studies about the normal body temperature and everything was done on only men.
Uh,
And we are on a 28-day hormone cycle and they are on a 24-hour hormone. Like, wait, you can't copy paste. So
mm-mm.
our wellness, our aging has to be very different.
Absolutely.
So I'm really glad you're catching that early.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I totally agree on being a victim to your health, right? I think that's that
Mm,
shift of like, are you a victim to the health that's happening to you, or is there A, acceptance on things that are natural, and then B, taking ownership over things that you do have control over, right? And
yeah,
not feeling hopeless to changing something. We can rewire our brains with
yeah,
habits. Like there's proven science to show that you can make new habits, let go of old habits. I mean, it's not easy. Let's be
that's
real.
right.
It's not easy, but
Yeah.
if you're committed and clear that it's possible, it's totally doable.
Yes,
Yes,
our brains are muscles. We have neuroplasticity.
that's right. We can regenerate those brain
We
cells.
can.
So yeah, perimenopause. I'm glad we're talking about this. I feel like it's everywhere right now, but I think it's also just my age and my feed. So, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, it is much more common. I mean, even Oprah did a special about it, and there's several other new specials and things going on. So it does seem to be coming up more than it was. It was such a hidden topic for so long, menopause in general.
Yeah, and it kind of angers me when I understand how the Western medical community were trained and how women have been dismissed. Like one of the perimenopause, menopause symptoms is itchy inner ear canals. And I can imagine women going to like and just being like, wow, what a crazy emotional woman. And I'm finishing up my neuroscience coaching certification and just learning so much about how our brains are wired. And I sent you this article about women and neuroscience as we age. And so the neural pathways get trimmed away for women. It's a very different way for women. And so it we age different than men is the point. And so there just has been far less research and study on it.
Absolutely. Well, TikTok and Instagram are doing all the research I need right now in terms of showing me all the fun things. But I keep seeing stuff that talks about like it's called cougar puberty and just like just the hormone shit. Yeah, so it's fun. I feel
Oh,
like they
I've heard queenager.
Queenager. Oh, I haven't heard that one. Okay, cool. Oh man. Well, where do we want to go from here? I feel like this whole thing for me started when I realized I was brought new insight and new direction that said the purpose of life is to feel good. And then I started to realize like, well, I don't feel good. So
Mm,
like what would that mean for me to actually prioritize how I feel over like logic and just what other people want and all of that. That for me was my biggest kind of starting point of I'm going to go a different direction than I have been. And that really started with that understanding that your how you feel is a signpost for being in harmony with yourself or manifesting what you're looking for or being in alignment, however you want to call it, right? That
mhm.
was kind of my first starting point of like, uh-oh, I don't feel good. Like really at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. I mean, ditto, ditto, copy, paste, same, 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 plus one, like same. And that's what I was trying to say about the adults in the rocking chairs in my history was like, I kind of interpreted as a child a narrative that like, oh, life's supposed to be hard and painful.
Definitely.
I don't know how else to say it to be,
Yeah.
but that's the honest truth. And so then when I was like, wait, life's supposed to be joyous and fun and feel great and free and whatever, like,
Whiplash. Uh-oh.
wait.
Reframe.
U-turn. Because I'm gonna because I'm gonna win at life. Like, well, I should be
Right. I'm
I
just
should
gonna
be doing
collect
that.
collect whatever it is you're collecting and then you win.
Yeah, and like it's a journey. Everything's a journey. There's no destination in health, wellness, healing, whatever. But I know I see this in you, and I'm sure you've heard similar comments, but like people who I used to work with when I was like in corporate burnout, I had cortisol face and like, I've had coffee or drinks with them like recently, and people are like, "You look like light is shining out of every pore." I had a sweet, sweet former colleague tell me that. And I was like, hell yeah, it is. Like, you know, and then your outer world really starts to reflect the inner world. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
what do you think about that from an energy perspective, or what are your things about feeling good?
Well, I just, when I was in corporate and I was really feeling trapped and all these things, that was when my tension started and it would escalate. It would put me out from like pain, headaches, so tight I couldn't work, I couldn't focus. It was horrible, right? And I had this interesting belief system at that time. I was like, work is the problem. I'm not following my purpose. If I change my job, it'll just magically go away.
Mm-mm. It
Newsflash.
does help. It can help, but
Newsflash, that didn't happen.
no matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah, yeah. I will say it changed, but it
Yeah.
definitely didn't you can't just be in a certain state in your body, create all this momentum, all this lack of connection, all this lack of tension. Like you can't get your body into a certain place, flip the switch, and then all of it goes away, right? I realized after trial and error and, having so much joy and feeling so aligned, and then still having these things come up from time to time in a different way, mind you. And I had way more flexibility to address them versus before. But it has been a journey, kind of working that back and finding the contrast between the two. Of I feel like I'm in harmony, but my body's still telling me there's something going on here. And
Mm.
realizing that what was going on with me was way more subtle, maybe, and that I had a lot more undoing to do than I maybe thought.
Yeah, and what I think is so critical to underscore here in your story is when we are in burnout or when we are in the swirl of life, we don't get to pay attention to the nuances. Our body tries to send us signals very simply at first, very small. And then if we don't listen, right, it hits us over the head. We have panic attacks, there's heart attacks, there's like story after story after story after documentation, medically documented. But what I love about that was you at least quieted down the noise of the court. You started to get into alignment in other places so you could listen to your body's signals in a more subtle way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the fun part, I mean, I say fun as in like, thanks life for the lemons. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make some lemonade. I started, that was probably about 5 years ago when it started. And then it
Mm.
took me a good year and a half to like realize like I have to quit my job, go on a whole journey on entrepreneurship and finding myself and all this other stuff. And all the while it was still coming and going. Like it would be like, every couple weeks I'd have the pain. And like at the time, I didn't realize how much cortisol and stress and tension I was just holding all the time. Like I was just like
Mm.
trying to control everything and thinking that was helpful. Like I genuinely, it wasn't like I was like an angry little control freak. I was just like, this is how I get what I want. This is how I create. This is how I build wealth. This is how I work. I have to do this in this world. This is how, you have to show up. So it was really just all those programming that was, I didn't realize I was operating in that way and not giving myself that flow and that separation and that trusting my intuition and just like relaxing, honestly. But the funny part
That's
is
what I call toxic resilience.
toxic resilience, 100%. That definitely. But anyway, this goes on and I keep getting better and I keep getting better and I keep getting better. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so close to being done. And then I keep finding
Done.
this pattern, right? I'm like, my body's going to be healed. And then I keep finding this pattern where the only time it's happening now is during my like PMS week, like that last week before my
Mm.
period. So for about a year, like in the last year or so, like that's been, I feel great. Other than that last week, it gets bad. And then I started realizing, well, maybe there's something hormonally going on. So it was literally like, and I realize now I've gone hormone testing. It's very clear what's going on. And I'm having early stages of perimenopause where your progesterone levels aren't going, they're inconsistent. And when they're not going up where they need to go, it creates anxiety, it creates muscle tension. And so right as I was like healing my trigger points, the perimenopause comes in and it kind of like kept it going a little bit farther. But it's been really cool because now I feel so much. I'm like, okay, it's okay. I understand my body now, and now I know what I can do.
Can do about it.
But it
But
is fascinating.
and it's slow. I really appreciate you sharing that with the community. It's like we often want quick fixes. And it was kind of through a process of elimination and really tuning in and paying attention to your body. Here you are working with the muscle and the physical structure of your body, and then the little hormones are lurking in the corner, in the shadow. It's like, bam, bitch, what about progesterone?
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's so good. And I remember I was on this like cool live meditation the other day, and the facilitator said something about spiritual bypassing, and I'm like, I keep hearing that term. Like, what does that really mean? And then it's almost like he heard my thoughts and he defined it. And he's like, spiritual bypassing is being so in the spiritual realm that you forget that the point of being on earth is to be uniquely human. And that we're supposed to experience being in a body. Like our soul gets a chance, a really like um important non-often I was trying to think like what's a word for non-often. I guess it depends if you believe in reincarnation or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like we get a unique chance to be in a body, and so like how we treat it and how we experience life through it and like tending to the human experience. And so wellness has become not just like, God, I remember in the 80s and the 90s it was just about skinny, like just being skinny and losing weight. Like it's not wellness. That's actually sickly now that I really understand a more holistic picture of wellness and treating my body like the temple it is, as you say.
Yeah, don't even get me started on past diet culture and just all that trash around women's bodies. That's a whole another podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. It is an evolution. And yeah, you again, it's one of those things like you're never done. And that's what I'm trying to remember is like, I'm not done. I'm just getting started. I'm just getting to learn about this whole new phase of women's hormones and women's bodies that is totally natural and good. It's not bad, it's just different. And everybody's kind of on their own timeline from what I'm learning. And yeah, so it's I'm feeling like cool. Now I understand what's going on, right? Not like what is
For
happening
now.
for now. Well, at least I can like research, right? Like I can look ahead
Mhm.
and say like, okay, here's what to expect. And now I can differentiate what is me not being in alignment with myself versus what is like a natural process. And there are tools to help with that. Not me fighting myself thinking this, all of it is me not being in alignment. Where am I not in alignment? And keeping looking for that.
Yeah, or worse, just like believing we're inherently broken.
Ugh, so
That was
sad.
like a narrative that I got as a child, like we're just broken. And then I
Inherently broken. And
inherently
yeah, and there's some element of, some people kind of enjoying the attention of that. And that's, you know,
broken. Don't get me started on that.
yeah, that's a whole nother episode too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think this is a short and sweet. Just like, hey, we're in a new year, but where a lot of like buzz around wellness is happening. And what do you need to do? Do you need to like focus more on detox? Do you need to focus more on the physical mechanics of your bones and fascia and muscles? Do you need to think about your energy? Or are you hearing us talk and you're like, my biggest issue feels like I'm not in alignment? Can you relate to Katie's story? Or it's like listen and tune in and see what path. What else would you say? What's kind of like a wrap on that for you for wellness?
And I would say too, like use the resources you have available to you, but there is so many labs out there now, right? There's so many
Mhm.
third-party things, there's so many tools. Like I'm so grateful to be in Austin to have kind of like experts in like physical therapy and things to rely on, but people are out there. You if it's acupuncture, if it's Kaiut yoga instructors, if it's specialists in PT, like whatever it is, like they are out there and there is peace for you in your bodies. Just allow whatever it is that you need to come to you and ask for it because it will show up. And yeah, I think it's about a combination of self-trust, alignment, and then being open to tools and new things that maybe you hadn't heard of before that will help.
Yeah, and as I was hearing you speak, it just like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs kind of came into my knowing, and it's like it reminds me when we're in physical pain or we're in physical disalignment, you can't really move up the ladder. You can't get to some of those higher order spiritual well-being type things, well-being. So yeah, like just tending to that as a really critical point of your wheel of life.
Absolutely. I love that. That's a great visual.
Well, trust your higher downloads, listen to your body, tune in. There's many, many messages coming. And if you have some cool wellness tips or fun things you've tried, hit us up.
You just experienced another higher download. We are so grateful you joined us on this journey.
Yep. So if you're feeling that high vibe energy and want more, subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode.
And if this episode sparks something in you, we'd be over the moon if you'd share it with someone who might need this download too.
Yep. Connect with us on Instagram at Higher Downloads, where we share more behind the scenes magic and some bonus content.
You can also find full episodes, transcripts, show notes, and resources at higherdownloads.com.
Until next time, trust your downloads and keep vibrating higher.